Hello and welcome to Filmy Ladies. Today it is a filmy gentleman, a very filmy gentleman. We decided we wanted to talk about Varun Dhawan for a whole
Yay!
episode because we love him. I think it was the Aliabat research that really cemented this for us. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
because you can't talk about her without him, I don't think, which is kind of funny when I think about it because
Yeah.
they don't leap to mind as a couple for me anymore, but certainly they've had several. Um, I don't even know where to start with this one, right? Like we've watched him before our very eyes. He's very much a hero of our, not our time in terms of we were the target market, but we were there to witness it. Um, I
We
think
saw him hatch out of the egg
that's
along
right.
with Siddharth and
The
Alia.
Kato egg. When you first saw him, do you remember what you thought and would you have expected where his career has gone?
Absolutely not. But I can say that about both of his co-stars because I never saw Student of the Year when it came out, and I was like, "What is this stupid nonsense?" I did not want to watch it. It looked very, very dumb, and I felt like they were just trying to like repackage Kuch Kuch Hota Hai or something like that. That whole like Archie's campus vibe and everything. I was like, I'm not going to watch this. I have the original that has Shah Rukh Khan in it. Why should I watch this? Um, and at that time, I was like, whatever, these people are going to be like a flash in the pan. How wrong I was. I could not have imagined that Alia Bhatt would end up being this absolute powerhouse of an actor. I don't think anyone could have imagined that if they had
No.
only seen Student of the Year. But I think that the same can be said about Varun Dhawan as well. I think surprisingly, like at the time, and I forget how old SOTY is, but it's like old. I think the person that most people
It's 14 years old.
Oh, that's old. It's a vintage, practically.
Mm.
It's a vintage cinema. I think at that time, the person that had the most buzz was actually Siddharth Malhotra, because he's probably like the one that most of the girls, like the young girls, were crushing on, and he has those like heartthrob looks and everything.
Mhm.
And I think he was also sort of like the underdog in the
Yes,
movie, so
yes.
he was the one that everyone thought was going to be like the breakout star. And I like Siddharth Malhotra. I have like a soft spot for him, but I
Too.
don't think he's of the same caliber as Alia and Varun.
No.
And I think in terms of like even like box office success and stardom, they've shot way past him. So
Yes.
Varun, like Alia, was someone that just kind of like grew on me. And it didn't take very long for him to grow on me. Like I don't remember exactly which was the first Varun Dhawan movie that I actually like sat down
Mhm.
and watched in its
Mhm.
entirety. It may have been Hamti Sharma Ki Dulhania and Badri Ki Dulhania.
Which and Humpty is his third film, so
Yeah.
that's pretty
I think it was those rom-coms that I first saw him in, and I immediately liked him because I just thought he was very charming, very affable, very sweet. I kind of have a soft spot for that, like goofy, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer thing he does. But he's also like good natured and sweet. And he really proved his acting chops, especially in Badri Ki Dulhania, where he played this very like orthodox, very toxic male character that Alia's character basically schools in the movie. So I was like, hey, this guy's cute and he acts well and he's handsome and he dances well. Like I
Mhm.
like him. More of him, please.
Mhm.
And his movie choices, not the ones he's done that are David Dhawan remix, but his like mostly his other movie choices have kind of cemented him as like I like him a lot. I
Yeah.
always enjoy watching his films and I always look forward to watching his films, even if they turn out to be a damp squib like Kalank.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? Was Student of the Year the first film of his you saw?
I believe so. I did not see that in the theater. I saw it on a plane, so but I do think I saw that before
Hmm.
uh Mantara Hero, I believe, which I did also enjoy and I considered rewatching for this, but I kind of
Hmm.
I did watch three films, so but I did not that was not in the top three for me to take a look at, but I do remember enjoying that in
Yeah.
a for what it is, right?
Right.
Yeah, I find him delightful. I find him charming. I agree that I think rom-com is where I like him the most.
Hmm.
Um, and Lord knows we can always use more rom-coms. One of the things that occurred to me while watching and rewatching for this project, and we'll get to what we saw, but I was kind of thinking, is he in a slightly uneasy place between the more serious yet mainstream of Ranbir Kapoor and the more frantic, ebullient Ranveer Singh?
Hmm.
because he kind of has things that both of them have, but he's not as much one or the other as they are. And does he suffer from that? I know he's slightly younger than they are in terms of when he debuted, but
Yeah.
I was having trouble kind of separating him. I put the three of them kind of together. I don't know that that's fair, but I was like, yeah, how what makes him different than those two?
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure.
I was thinking about this too, actually, because I was thinking about how between Ranbir, their names are so similar. Between Ranbir, and Barun, he is by far my favorite. I
Ah,
vastly prefer him to the
oh,
other two.
interesting.
Having
Okay.
said that, I don't necessarily think that he's a better actor than the two of
No,
them.
I don't either.
Right.
They're all
But I
different
still
from each
like
other.
him more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
And
very likable.
he's very likable.
Oh,
I
what?
think
I don't
he
know why.
really, his personality really does so much of the heavy lifting in terms of like him having a fandom. Because with Ranbir Kapoor, I really have to separate who he is as a person and how annoying he is off screen
But
from
his personality hurts
how
him.
good he is. It really does. And then with Ranveer Singh, again, the manic energy and the overperformative stuff he does, it's like it really irritates me. And then I go watch him in something like Gully Boy, which is one of my favorite movies, and then I'm like, oh, but I love you. It's
Yeah.
so I vacillate so much with Ranveer Singh. I think with Varun Dhawan, it's just so he's so unpretentious. I love the
Yeah.
fact that he's just this like good old boy and he wants to talk about all the food he eats. He's very relatable. One of my favorite things to
He
listen
loves
to
his
him is like,
doggy.
yeah, I love when he rants about how he hates being on a diet and how he hates having to go to the gym. And he's like, what I really want to eat. And then he lists like 25 things he wants to eat. And I was like, I love you. Like, of these three men, Varun Dhawan is the person that I want to be friends with,
Oh, 100%.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I think that potentially clouds my judgment a little bit. And maybe I end up giving a lot of brownie points for his
Yeah.
acting, but I do also genuinely think he's a really good actor.
Mhm.
I don't know why he is not considered as top tier as both the Ranveers and Ranveers are, because when has a lack of acting skill ever stopped anyone from being a superstar? Salman Khan, I'm looking at you,
Right.
right? I
Rarely
mean,
does it
it's
stop someone.
exactly. So I don't know why he hasn't reached that same level of stardom. But here's the thing: as an unabashed Varun Dhawan fan, I think he is just one big blockbuster away from hitting
Mm.
that stardom. Because here's the thing about him: he has a lot of movies that people love that are like cult classics, like the movie I'm going to talk about today, for instance, which is Badlapur.
Mhm.
People love Badlapur. People love October. People love the Dulhania series. People love some people, not a ton, but like you and me, we really like Bedia, right?
Mhm.
Like his Matic turns. So it's like there's some movies he's done that people really, really love, and they really love him in it. But I don't think he has ever had like a blockbuster that is as gigantic as the Khans had at a very young age,
Right.
or even Ranbir Kapoor has had. Like Ranbir Kapoor has Rockstar. I'm not a big fan of that movie, but Rockstar really cemented his place in stardom. And I haven't watched any of the Dhurandhar films, but again, those movies have really cemented Ranveer Singh. So did, Bajirao Mastani, and then Dil Dhadakne, though, my beloved Gully Boy. So I don't know that Varun Dhawan has anything that iconic, but
Mhm.
really, he just needs one big blockbuster and he'll be on his way.
What he doesn't, well, and here's the thing, he's 39. It might be too late.
He's really, I was going to say he's so young.
I
I was like, he's a baby. He's a baby.
mean, he seems like a baby to us in some ways, but is it too late for a blockbuster to cement him as a plus list as opposed to a list, for example? And I
I
don't know.
don't know.
Is 39 too young for your first blockbuster?
For women, absolutely
For
100%.
women,
Because for
absolutely.
women, if you're 39, you have to be in the museum. Like you're in the
Right.
National Archive at that point, right? Like
Right.
you're 1 foot into the dusty, storeroom. But I do think that the rules are different for men.
Oh yeah.
And I don't remember when it was that Saif Ali Khan became like a bona fide A-list star as opposed to being Shah Rukh Khan's
Dil Chata
sidekick.
Hai, right?
Right. But I mean,
But
until
not
Dil
even.
Chahta Hai, he was still kind of sidekicky. Kal Ho
Yeah.
Na Ho, he was sidekicky.
Yeah.
Was it maybe
It was about
Omkara?
2005 or something, right? 2005,
Yeah,
2006. Yeah.
when he became like the
And
star,
he'd been
not
acting for
just
over 10 years at that point, certainly. So yeah,
right.
maybe it's not too late for Varun.
Yes,
I
one
hope he gets
hopes.
it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, yeah, he doesn't have anything as splashy as either of those
Yeah.
two, nor does Sid Malhotra, I don't believe. So,
Mm-mm,
and I
no,
quite like him as well. He's not as good as the rest of
no.
them, but when I do quite like him, as I talked about him in Kapoor and Sons within the last
Yeah.
half a year or so. And you will see Varun films scattered throughout the Filmy Ladies universe here playlist. So if you want to hear what we have to say about him, he does pop up in a few of our other episodes. But it's fun to talk about him because, like you, I always am happy to know he has something coming out. That said, I downloaded Baby John and then I
Oh,
reread the description and then I did not watch it because I just
okay.
thought, "Ugh, it sounds a little heavy and dark for what I want right now." So I chose not to challenge my own concept of kind of how I view him, right? So shame on me for that. I chose to rewatch a couple of other things instead.
Yeah.
So,
Have
uh,
you seen Badlapur?
I have seen it, but I have not seen it in
Okay.
a long time. So you,
But that very much is
yeah,
a not what you think of Varun Dhawan kind of
yeah.
thing, you know.
And he did that pretty early on. He did that 3 years after his launch. I rewatched October for this, which is what, 6 years after his launch, so a little later. But the fact that he was doing Badlapur pretty quickly was
Hmm.
important, I think, to his career. And October obviously got a lot of rave reviews for him. Um, I also rewatched Dishum, which is a film that I remembered enjoying very much. And then I watched for the first time Street Dancer 3D, which no one should watch. uh, but I have seen the other in that series. So he's in the second one, and I remember enjoying that as well. So yeah, we've got a couple serious things, a dance focused. I think you'd call it a drama. I don't even think you can call it a rom-com really. It's a dance movie with a bit of plot kind of connecting
Is it
the
sort
set
of like
pieces.
Happy New Year-esque?
There's a dance contest anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no heist or anything like that, but
Okay.
there's cultural differences and things like that. Um, and then Dishoom, I think, honestly, for me, I thought when I watched Dishoom originally, I thought this maybe is a good sweet spot for him because he's goofy sidekick to John Abraham, who is the main badass cop. So Varun does not have to carry the weight of seriousness because they give that
Mm.
to John, who frankly is not very good. Um, this is way before, we he I think delighted a lot of us with Shahrukh, but this is not that, and he's very wooden. Um, so far, and adds levity there. Anyway, let's talk about Badlapur, I think first, because that's an important one, and it is chronologically the first of the films we're going to talk about. If
Mm.
people want to know what we think about Humpty Sharma, I did rewatch that for our Alia episode, and you rewatched Badrinath Ki Dulhania for
Yeah.
also the Alia episode, so you can see
Yeah.
those, hear what we thought about those recently. So hit us with Badlapur.
And we have an episode on Padia as well.
Yes, we do.
Hmm.
Yes,
But Lapur, so first of all, I love Sriram Raghavan. I just
sure.
think he is such an amazing director. And I feel like I don't mention him as much as I should. I mean, I usually talk about Vishal Bharadwaj being like all kinds of amazing. But I do think Sriram Raghavan is so amazing. I mean, he gave us Ek Hasina Thi, which is just one of the most mind-blowing movies I've seen. He did Andhadhun, which I also enjoy. He's done Agent Vinod, which you like a lot.
Mhm.
He's fabulous.
Mhm.
And Badlapur is not one of those movies that one wants to watch over and over again because it is very, very dark and it is very, very dire.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very violent. But I really remember liking it when I first saw it, and it has absolutely held up for me. And this time I was watching it sort of more critically because I wanted to challenge some of my very rosy opinions on Varun Dhawan, and I wanted to be like, okay, is this performance as good as I think it is? And I really do think it is. So, for those of you who don't know what Badlapur is about, it's about this very unassuming, sweet advertising professional who is married to Yami Gautam and they have a little boy. And in just this sort of freak accident situation that happens, the wife and the child are basically murdered by Nawazuddin Siddiqui and Vinay Pathak. This is not a spoiler, by the way. This literally happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie is basically this guy, Varun Dhawan, going completely unhinged. And it makes you think of, that saying, when you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back at you. It's basically that.
Oh, I said that to someone earlier today.
Yeah.
That's the kind of year it is.
It is, and that's the kind of movie Badlapur is
Mhm.
also. It's like, oh, you think you're a decent person? No, you're not.
Nope.
Um, and Badlapur is just like, essentially, I would call it one man's descent into madness, and it's about how the desire for badla, which is revenge, just makes him this unrecognizable person. And this movie has some phenomenal performances. I know this is a Varun Dhawan episode, so I will keep this short and sweet, but Nawazuddin
I
Siddiqui,
mean,
my God.
I mean, and I remember
We
when this came out, I believe most of us, at least on Twitter, were like, "Oh, you are not giving Varun a good shot here because you've put him next to kind of the
Nawaz.
opposite of him, right? Like someone of a
Yeah.
very different flavor, very different experience, very different demeanor. Just it all seemed like, oh no."
Yeah.
And
Like
yeah,
that is not a fair fight.
no, it's not.
No. And Nawazuddin Siddiqui is firing on all cylinders
Oh
in this
yeah.
movie. I mean, Nawaz is almost always brilliant, but I have seen one or two films because I like him so much. I've seen so
Yeah.
much of his filmography, and I've definitely seen one or two performances of his, which I was like, well, this is fairly wooden. And like, what is
Yeah.
Nawaz doing? Like, he's just phoning it in. Okay, this is not one of those films.
No, ma'am.
This movie, Nawazuddin is just diabolical and he's unhinged. He's just this diabolical is the best word I can use to describe this man. Like he's sociopathic, but it's just on this completely manic level. And he's scary. Even in his most funny bits that he's doing to make you laugh, it's just like, oh my God, this man is not right. Having said that, Varun Dhawan is even more diabolical in this movie. And it's just an amazing essay on revenge and what it will do to you and how it eats you up inside. This movie also has Huma Qureshi, who is always a joy to look at. And she's
Mhm.
so beautiful in this movie. She's wonderful. She is kind of like Nawaz's love interest. Radhika Apte is in this movie as well. She's amazing as well.
I forgot she was
Um,
in it. Oh yeah.
yeah, she's so good. And then
Yeah.
Vinay Pathak is good. And Varun Dhawan is just amazing in this film. It's very hard to think of Varun Dhawan's image as this like laughable, sweet, funny, charming, affable, popular person. And then you put him in Badlapur, where he's just this black hole of a man. And, he's just terrible and just consumed with his inner demons. And he does some things in this movie that are just absolutely heinous and unforgivable. And there's a specific moment in this film. I mean, I almost think of this movie in like two parts, right? Like there's the first part, there's a certain part of the movie where the audience is very much Team Varun because
Yeah.
they understand that this is a man who has lost his wife and child and he wants revenge, and you're completely on board with that. But then he starts doing some things and starts treating women in a certain way that I was just like, you, sir, have become a monster.
Mm.
And from that moment on, I was like, I don't know where my loyalties lie anymore. Like, I always knew Nawaz was a horrible human being, but now you are turning into one too.
Yeah.
And by the end of this movie, you don't like anyone, you don't respect anyone, you think everybody is terrible. Nawaz weirdly redeems himself a little bit, and then Varun doesn't. It's such a mind bend of a movie, and I think Varun is phenomenal in it. And for
Mm.
him to do that as his third film, I commend him for choosing this difficult subject. I commend him for really doing justice to the material and being amazing. And I really commend Sriram Raghavan for taking this kid who debuted in Student of the Year and saying he can do it. How? What made you think he can do that? But Shyam Raghavan saw something that we didn't, and it's really a masterclass in movie making and acting. And I highly recommend this film for anyone who wants to watch it. And with this movie, I think Varun Dhawan definitely proved he can act.
Mm.
And I love the fact that despite being a nepo baby and despite having a dream debut that just like landed in his lap, I like that he's taken risks with his
Yep.
roles. You know,
Yep.
yeah.
Not as many as some other people, but yeah, he did take a few.
Mhm.
I'm very curious, yeah, who was responsible for casting him in this? And did he have conversations with his elders, right, about is this a good choice for me? You know,
I'm trying to imagine a dinner meeting where there's David, Dhawan, and Govinda at the table,
I
and he's
know.
asking them, "Should I do Badlapur?" And they're like, "Yeah, do it." And I'm like, "Oh, to be a fly on the wall."
I mean, Govinda, I can certainly see having some interesting advice as someone who, you know, at a certain point, right?
Right.
And like maybe he
Yeah.
can say, I wish I had done, or,
Hmm.
and I know his initial movies are not necessarily what we all associate him with, but still I can
Right.
imagine he has some interesting perspective. Dad, it's kind of like, well, to my knowledge, he's only ever put his money in the kind of broad comedies
Loud
that we
comedy.
associate him with,
Yeah.
right? But he obviously is a veteran of the film industry, so he must have some good advice, right?
Yeah.
Um, and maybe that advice was you will always have a safety. I will put you in my films if nothing else is working for you, but go see what you can do. Maybe that's the
Yeah.
advice, and that's a good parent in a way.
Don't pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, because that is one of Varun Dhawan's strengths, right? Like he's extremely versatile.
Mm,
I don't think I've ever seen him not do a genre well. Like obviously we know he has a face for comedy and he's
yeah.
just very, very funny. He obviously is also charming enough and conventionally good looking enough and a
Yeah.
good enough dancer that he can do romance really well
Hmm.
too.
Hmm.
So that's two big genres he excels at already.
Hmm.
We know he can do drama because he's done things like Badlapur, October, Jug Jug Jio, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, really, like I don't know if there's anything he can do.
Here's what I think I don't want him doing, and
Mm,
this will lead me to Street Dancer 3D. This film, I had forgotten this. So the first two in the series, the ABCDs, were made by Disney, but then Disney had started this third one, but then they pulled out of India.
okay.
And so this one was taken over by, uh, homegrown work. And so there's kind of a tonal shift, I would
Mm.
say. Now, do I remember the plots of the other two? No, I don't, but I don't remember them having this one partway along just shoehorns in this social message. And it's a good social message. It's about the plight of illegal immigrants in London,
Oh,
South Asian immigrants in London. That's a perfectly valid thing to shine a spotlight on. It doesn't need to be a center of a whole film, could be, but
like Donkey.
right. I like that they're trying to do something in this film. And it actually ends with, spoiler alert, the real footage of an actual Punjabi run, or sorry, Sikh run food delivery program that helps these under-resourced and sometimes
Oh,
unhoused immigrants in London.
okay.
Um, and it says, thank you to this group for inspiring us and whatever. Like it's kind of not, I actually teared up at the end.
Mm.
However, before we get to the ultimate end, there's a scene where Varun is giving a bit of a lecture to somebody. He's not pulling that off.
Okay.
Moral high ground lecture, that's not his forte, at least
Yeah.
not with this script in this setting. Now maybe as he ages he will get better at that, because that is something that Shah Rukh has always been able to do. And I
Yes.
don't think I'm just saying that looking backwards with what we know him to be now, because I think he was effective at it 10 years into his career or less, like 5 years into his career, right? Even though, sir, you have no leg to stand on with your lecturing and DDLJ and things like that, he's still effective at it as an actor, I think.
Hmm.
So that didn't go well for me, at least in this film. So I need to think back through some of his other films and see, like, has he done that? Because heroes often do that, and like he does it
Yeah.
in the Badrinath films, right, or the Dulhania films, at least in the first one. But it's much more of it feels more like a heartfelt, like, here's my situation,
Mm.
to her dad, right? Like I love her. Here's why I think I can be a good partner to her. I
Yeah.
understand that you disagree. It's not like meh, meh, meh. Like
Right.
he can't be a scold, I don't think.
No. I think he gives the impression of being too like happy go lucky.
Yeah, he's too good natured, right?
He doesn't have the gravitas to
No.
like care that much.
And I was about
Yeah.
to say he doesn't have the anger either, but I don't think that's right because he's good in Badlapur, which is a very angry film.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yes.
um, so
He's
that
also
that
good
kind
at
of
like
thing.
emotional reactivity. Like you've seen Jug Jug Jio,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
I love the scene of his and Kiara Advani where they're
Uh-huh.
like just
The best
going
part of
at
that
it.
movie. Hmm.
So good. And I did not see that coming. I
No, it
really
was a
like Kiara
big
Advani in that scene
surprise.
too.
Hmm.
Yeah, she was great too. But
Yeah.
he's really upset. So he can do anger really
Hmm.
well and he can do the emotional reactions really
Hmm.
well. But perhaps he just doesn't have the finger wagging,
I
scoldy,
think it
holier
has to
than
be
thou.
I think it has to be personal and not societal.
Right.
And
Yes.
this in this movie, it's a little bit personal, but it's mostly societal.
So,
Like women
okay.
should blah 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 or whatever,
Right.
kind of thing. So
He
that
can
that
leave
I
the
don't see
moral
him doing.
lecturing to Akshay Kumar.
Right.
And
So,
then we won't watch those movies.
if he's still acting when he's 60 and he's morphing into paterfamilias, I don't see that working well for him.
No.
But hopefully he can still be literal comedy, not Uncle Grandpa or
Yeah.
whatever. That I don't
I
know.
feel like if he's still acting when he's like 60 or 70, he's going to be the Bum Rani
Oh,
kind of
yes.
dad and
Yes.
grandpa or
Oh,
uncle.
I like that for him.
Yeah. Where
Sometimes
he's
that
just kind
character can
of,
be the star and sometimes he can be a secondary character. Those are both
yeah.
good.
I think he
Yeah.
can do that well.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Um,
I love how invested we are in this man's career,
Very
by the way.
invested. Well, he's going to be with us for a while, I hope. So,
Yes.
um, AB, street dancer, you know, so it's hip hop dance teams, I guess. And
Okay.
like, boy, that's high on the list of things I don't know anything about. So the whole time I'm like, is this good dancing? Is this good choreography? Like, I don't know. And they've
Right.
got British dance teams in there. A lot of it's filmed in London and whatever else. So I did enjoy the dance numbers, but but I still can't really recommend anybody watch this. The other main lead is Shraddha Kapoor, who is she's okay.
Who we
Nobody's
know you
great.
love.
Nobody's great in this except honestly, Murli Sharma is there in a very small role as a
Mm.
police officer who is half Indian, half Pakistani, and
Mhm.
he's funny. And then of course Prabhu Deva is there as as like the wise elder who's involved with the kind of social work aspect of this and also becomes a dance mentor to them, which is
Right.
correct. He is a joy to watch always. Um, and people with more dance knowledge than I could comment on how, the kinds of styles he does kind of merge
Mm.
into the more hip hop focused things that the dance teams are doing, which are honestly extremely acrobatic to my eyes. I was like,
Mm.
where's the line between dance and
Right.
gymnastics? You know what I mean? Because there's tumbling and stuff like that.
Mm.
But anyway, I'm not even sure I would tell you to watch it on a plane. You could, but like this is this movie came out right before the pandemic, so that I feel bad
Right.
for it in that regard. But and so then I rewatched Dishum because I loved that movie when it came out, as I remember, and I think Varun comedy partner to grumpy, serious older person is a good piece of casting. He's someone who's young in the police force and very eager to make his mark. Have you seen this film, Padu?
I have not. And I was gonna ask you like, hey, what's the star cast? And do you mind telling me what the story is about? I don't think
Yeah.
anyone talks about it.
No, I don't think they do either, and I'm not sure why. And I was
Mm.
talking on Bluesky with a friend named Abe Goldfarb, who's in New York, and he was also saying he really likes this movie, and that made me feel a little
Mm.
bit better that I'm not as much of a weird outlier. So it is it's a cop buddy film. It's mostly a
Okay.
comedy. An Indian cricket player has been kidnapped I think they're in Dubai. I'm not. They're somewhere in that part of the world. I'm not sure where they are
Mhm.
exactly. They probably said, and I missed it. There's a big upcoming India Pakistan cricket match in the Middle East, and he's been kidnapped and held for ransom.
Mm.
And so, so John Abraham is sent by Big Bad India intelligence or whatever to go get this guy. He gives zero F's this character. He's very angry. He smokes all the time. He's just caught his girlfriend cheating on him, so he's extra angry about that. And then Varun is like a local cop who gets partnered with him to be like a driver, an interpreter, a guide,
Okay.
whatever. And you see him in the background being like, "Yes, I got a big assignment," whatever. Um, they both are wearing very tight shirts and tight pants all the time. There's a lot of muscle, there's motorcycles and all that kind of stuff, but mostly it's a comedy. They cross paths with various people on their search for what's going on. So they meet Vijay Raz, who's a local criminal.
Okay.
Jacqueline Fernandez is a local pickpocket. They end up questioning. Rahul Dev is there as a bad guy because, of course, he is. And then I will spoil this a little bit. The big bad in this movie is actually Akshay Khanna, which for me I had forgotten that he was in it, and it's a real treat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now I have not seen the Durandar films, and I probably will never because they
Yeah.
look way too violent for me. But I know he's kind of riding a bit of a wave
Right,
as a
right.
villain right now. But it was good to see him here too.
I was literally thinking of Akshay Khanna yesterday, and then
Yeah,
I was going to message you, but it was too late, like in your time zone, because Instagram showed me this song that I really love. It's an A.R. Rahman song, and it's beautifully shot in Greece. I
I
don't know
love
if you know
that
it.
one too.
Kissa Hum Likhenge, that song.
With
It has
Jyotika.
Jyotika, yes. And
Yeah,
I saw that, and they look so charming in
I
it, and they were so
know.
cute. And I
I
was like,
know.
oh, I should send this to Beth and ask her what she thinks about this movie. But like, it was like 2 a.m. at your time, so I
Yeah.
didn't. But
I
I
don't
was
remember that.
literally seeing it yesterday.
I don't remember that movie super well, but I do remember enjoy and the songs are lovely in that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another career that's such an interesting one. Um, and there's a doggy who's important,
Okay.
and Varun has been on the trying to find this dog, and then he does find the dog, and it's like a big bulldog with like big jowls and everything. So he's walking around carrying this giant dog. It's very funny.
Oh, that's
Um,
the screenshot you sent me.
yes, yes, and I enjoy Jacqueline, even
Yeah.
if I shouldn't. And then she and Varun have a song. They're good dance partners, I would say. Um, I don't think this movie is the most culturally sensitive. I'm going to say
Okay.
that. It's a little bit like Middle East terrorists, yay, guns,
Right.
and you're like, um,
Gold, oil.
yeah, but yeah, it's got Akshay Kumar is there in a cameo in I'm, it's the kind of gay stereotype stuff from Kal Ho
Kalhona
Na
ho.
Ho, but way later. So you're like, no, guys,
Oh.
stop it. But it is also kind of funny to see a man be the subject of the male gaze, right? So there's a
Mm.
scene where he like does this or something, but then when he gestures, he points down like towards the crotch or whatever, and
Oh.
that's kind of funny to
Right.
I mean, he's way too much. I'm sure he was given it.
Mm.
He is kind of it's interesting. He's too much, but also he does it lightly. So I don't know, like if you must have this, he was a good person for it. However, you do not must have this.
Right.
There's no need to have this. Um, yeah, I enjoyed Dishoom, and I kind of hope others do too. I kind of hoped, I think what I said at the time was, I don't need to see this movie again, but I'd watch another one of these. You know what I mean?
That was of like better caliber.
Yeah, yeah. But and maybe you could switch out John Abraham for somebody else, but maybe he would be a little bit better now, a little bit looser or whatever. But anyway, good fun. Varun as comedy action, I think is totally acceptable. And that's one reason I thought I wanted to see Baby John is because, or Citadel Honey Bunny, which
Mm.
I don't have Prime, so I haven't seen that. But I'm kind of interested to see how he does in a kind of espionage, policey kind of role like that. I don't need him to do that, but that's a thing that's out there for men as they age. So
Right.
I should see. And then I rewatched October because I felt like I should. I knew you were doing
Mm.
Badlapur, and I felt like I should rewatch October. You guys, this movie passed my cell phone test with flying colors. I didn't even pause at interval. I watched it straight through. No, it's not the longest film. I
Mm.
was so reabsorbed into this movie. I had seen it before, but it'd been a while. It's lovely until like the very last minute. I think it gets a little heavy-handed, but until
Mm.
the very last, I really enjoyed this. And watching his
Okay.
character, have you seen it?
No. Mm-mm.
So he plays kind of like a more crabby version of Humpty Sharma. So
Okay.
he's a fairly well-to-do child. I think he's on an internship program that is a work experience at one of the fancy hotels in Delhi, and he's training,
Mm.
to get a certificate that he can go work in different kinds of hotels. He's interested in cooking primarily, as far as I could tell, and and he's friends with some of the other interns, and there's a young woman who among their group who one evening some of the interns are out on the balcony having a little party, and she falls off the balcony and she's in a coma.
Oh, yikes.
And he finds out a little bit later that in the coma, or right before she fell, she said, "Where's Dan?" And that's his name.
Mm.
And somehow this statement really reaches him, and he starts spending time at the hospital with her, gets to know her family a little bit. Everyone's like, "Were you her boyfriend?" No, he wasn't. But and he starts putting so much effort into kind of being with her and being present with her family, and his work is starting to suffer even more. He was a bit of a like not that attentive at work, and was always complaining about the assignments they gave
Like a
him and stuff like
slacker.
that. Yeah, a bit of a slacker, but a little bit not like a good-natured slacker, like I just genuinely don't care about much of anything slacker. Not angry, but just kind of like meh a lot, you
Yeah.
know. And not mischievous in any way. It has none of his mischievousness, which is something I enjoy in some of his other roles. And so it's about, kind of about how this caretaking, and he's not taking medical care of her. She's in the hospital with, around the, a lot of medical care, but he is paying attention and listening and being attentive and trying to help and do useful things, like he's interested in watching kind of some of the levels on the charts and in the different tubes connected to her. And he knows that she likes a certain flower, and he brings her some of it, and you actually see the scent of the flower like makes her kind of have a
Work up a little.
flicker in her coma,
Mm,
right? So it's really interesting, and I won't say more about the ending, but it is a I in my head, I think I remembered this as a little more sentimental than I found it this time, but maybe I
mm.
was just ready to sort of sniffle and cry and be
Right.
emotional or whatever. I really enjoyed this. I do think it's a film that other people could have done. It does have very similar to Lutera vibes to me. It's
Okay.
like both these men needed to do a film like that.
Mm,
The films are quite different, but they are calmer. They are a little more complicated. They both have an
mellow.
ailing woman in them for them to
Mm,
sort of respond to in a way. Um, so there's some real similarities there, but this calmer version of him, and this there's no joy. He's not joyful in this movie at all. And that to me is the biggest difference, because in Badlapur, what I think I remember is that there's a perverse joy in the revenge, right? Not that
yes.
he's like cackling necessarily, but that he's driven and he's got a purpose and whatever.
It's
And so
consumed him.
yeah, the very gentle shift of purpose here
Mm,
or the finding of a purpose is really lovely. And you can tell that it's improving him as a human.
mm,
Now, could you make the argument that this woman is kind of being sacrificed to his personal development? Sort of, but also he had nothing to do with what happened to her. He wasn't
mm,
there when it happened. So it's not like they were friends and she fell, or they were dancing, or she's better behaved and a little quieter and stuff. So it's not like he was spinning her on the balcony and she was
right.
tipsy and she slipped or whatever. No, so he's actually not connected to this at all. But in making some of these choices, he builds some connections, and it's really
Mm,
nice. I definitely
interesting.
think that you should watch this movie at some point.
I have resisted this movie
Mhm.
despite my Varun Dhawan love
Mhm.
because I have had people tell me that it's too maudlin. And I tend to stay away from movies where there's a lot of scenes in hospitals because
Okay.
I just don't think that Hindi films do that well. Like, again, they make it very maudlin. And I'm like, do I
I
really want to see like
I don't think I would
hospital
use
thing?
that word about this film until kind
Okay.
of the last couple of
Okay.
minutes. And you can tell when it's coming. Um,
Okay.
I thought most of the scenes in the hospital were um I don't know, you hear the machines beeping and the lights are kind of dark and things like that. But and the doctor is kind of coming and going with good news some days, bad news other days. Like you see the family kind of
Okay.
reacting. You see this patient's younger siblings like trying to do their studies while they're in the
Mm,
hospital. The mother is a teacher, professor. You see her kind of coming and going, and the patient's father has died, I believe. And
okay.
so his brother is there, and the uncle and the mother kind of disagree over how some of this should be handled. Um, it you may cry, but I don't think it's out there trying to be like, cry now, cry right now. You know what I
Right.
mean? Sorry
Like
for yelling.
what is that like genre of films where often it'll be like some Nicholas Sparks book or whatever,
Right.
and it'll be like the girl has some fatal disease
Yeah.
and the guy, like, Autumn in New York sort of
Yeah.
films, and I stay away from those because
Yeah.
the entire directive of the film from start to finish is to make you cry. And so
Yeah.
I always wondered if October was in that vibe, and I was like, maybe I'll stay away.
To me, this is more, I did cry, but it wasn't a big dramatic cry. It was also
Mm.
more of a sigh. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like life is hard. Bad things happen to
Mhm.
good people, and there's not a reason. It's kind
Yeah.
of one of those.
Right.
But also that all the other lives, it's not that they're not impacted, and they continue. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those films.
Yeah.
It's a film about a young person figuring out what they want to do and what they need to do in order to do those things. So it's not, this is not a story about ambition, but there is a, you know, a 20 something kid trying to figure it out, you know,
Yeah.
and he's getting some advice from places he would never have expected it, right? And kind of
Interesting.
demonstrating to himself what he can do.
Mm.
Um,
How does he do in the emotional scenes? Because I have
he's
found
pretty
that,
good.
yeah, he can be very. Every time I see Varun Dhawan being like loud and funny and happy, which
Yeah,
is my favorite form of
sure.
Varun Dhawan, it always makes me worry that, oh, if he does like an emotional scene, he's going to really ham it up. Like I love Shah Rukh, but Shah Rukh in emotional scenes can be a lot.
Yeah,
But surprisingly, every time I've seen Varun in emotional scenes, like in Badri Ki Dulhania or in Jug Jug Jio or some like minor scenes in Pedia or in Badlapur when he's at his wife's bedside and she literally dies and he's trying to keep it together, and
yeah,
then later on when he tells his neighbors he's like, the cremation is tomorrow at like 4 p.m., he's so fantastic in those scenes, and
yeah.
you wouldn't expect that though from that crazy energy that he has, right?
Yeah, I would say he's fairly understated in
Mm.
it. And I think that's partly because I don't think this character is supposed to know quite what to do with his feelings.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
But and some people who don't know what they're to do with their feelings, it comes out very big in kind of the wrong direction or whatever. But that's not what this
Erratic.
person is like. Yeah.
Okay.
And he does use bits of like he gets a little bit not full on anger. He's peeved at like a guard who won't let him into the hospital because he only has a daytime visitor pass, not a nighttime visitor pass. So he's like trying to figure out how to get in. Or, you know, he has kind of a like relationship with one of the nurses, but then they become friends. There's a
Okay.
scene where he's at a desk trying to get some information in someone else, a pharmacy, I think, and there's someone else who's like talking to the pharmacist about, well, it says this, but then this, and then Varun's like, let me help, and he takes the sheet, and then he's like, oh, da 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 da, you know, so like he learns how to be a bit of a problem solver,
Okay.
whereas in his job at the hotel, he's a problem causer. You
Right.
know what I mean? So there's this great moment in the beginning of the film that I think kind of indicates this, and it's you see him on the main at the lobby, and the door, sorry, the elevator opens, and a big family gets out, bustle, 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 and he's going up, and I think he's going into the rooms or suite that they have just left. And there's a little kid in there that they forgot about. It's kind of got a Home Alone moment to it, right? And the
Yeah.
kid is taking all the little baby miniature toiletries, which we've seen the interns like carefully line up, and throwing them in the toilet and like splashing around in the
Oh my God.
and we know the toilets are very clean because we've just seen the interns clean the toilet too. But yeah, and Varn's like, ugh. He's like, hey man, what are you doing? And so then he picks up the kid and doesn't know what to do with him, but then he sets him on the cart with the linens on it in the hallway, just
Yeah,
sets
yeah.
the kid there, and then he goes down the hall like he's just left the kid on the cart. And then the young woman who eventually is the patient in the hospital comes by, and she's like, and she picks the kid up and like takes him downstairs or
Right.
whatever. But it was a moment of like he needed to get him out of the away from the toilet, but you don't just leave him on a cart, right? And
Right.
he also probably thought someone would blame him for it because they do blame him for other things. So like you kind of sympathize with him, but you're like, that was the wrong choice, my friend.
Right. That almost makes me think, like, you know how there's that micro genre of men who are single and they're Casanovas, and unexpectedly they're expected
Right.
to parent someone,
Yes, it has
like
that
Three
vibe.
Men and a Baby, or
Yeah.
about like, what is that Hugh Grant movie
Yeah.
where I feel like he would be
Yeah.
so funny in something like that.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
He would be. It's interesting that this character is not a Casanova. I don't think we ever hear about him with
Mm.
women in this movie, but he does. But I think he's just kind of, yeah, he's not ebullient enough to kind of,
Yeah.
not a player, I don't think. He's just kind of
Right.
a bit of a drifter
Mm.
trying. He does have things he wants to do, but like he's not investing in the steps to get him there until, later. So I definitely recommend this movie. If it starts to feel mawkish to you, you could turn it off and then you
Right.
would have had a sense of it. But I think that you would be impressed by his performance.
Yeah. I also feel like you have a slightly lower tolerance for maudlin and mawkish than I
Mm.
do. So
Your
if
hobby is
this
crying.
passed, my hobby is crying. So if you didn't think this was maudlin, then I think that it passes your test. I have other friends whose judgment I would not trust that much.
Well, and maybe it just struck me right this time, right? Like maybe I was in
Yeah,
a mood to see something like this. And I did very much purposely choose it to kind of round out what
right.
I was thinking about with him, but also um I felt I could handle. it, and I could.
Yeah. Do you think that Varun Dhawan's versatility hurts him?
I mean, maybe a little. I forget who else we were talking about, but it's, where do you slot him? But I
Mm,
think because of his last name, we do know where to slot him, right? I think
right,
he probably gets put in his Govinda 2.0-ish kind of rom-commy thing. Because when you look at his filmography, that is not all he's done by any
right,
means, not by any means. Um, I don't get the sense that it's what a lot of people like about him most. So,
right.
y- y- yeah, maybe, and maybe he's also content to sort of have that be what people think of first for him, and that's okay. There's a place in this world for comedy for sure. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I don't know. It could be, but I think his last name probably would hurt him more in a way. Obviously, being a
Mm,
Nepo baby is a huge advantage,
yeah.
but do they over associate him with his dad? Maybe.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. It was so funny when you were talking about spycraft and things like that. And I was like, man, I know Varun Dhawan has surprised me in the past, but I just can't imagine him as a spy. He's too good natured and happy. Like, I can't imagine him being like suave and debonair, like,
Oh,
safe.
absolutely not. Nope.
No, he's
Nope.
not going to be that
Rich
sophisticated,
and
like,
handsome, sure, but suave,
sure.
no.
No,
No.
he's not going to look good in a tux. I mean, he would look like objectively good in a tux. So I
Yeah,
just can't picture him. But
that's not his
also,
vibe.
I also can't imagine him being like all about like high level strategy and stuff.
No.
Not because I don't think he's smart, but because I don't think he cares enough.
Which is why making him Bedia is smart because a wolf acts on instinct,
Yes.
right? So like I think maybe that's more the direction. Like that's actually quite a good piece of casting, I think. And
Hmm.
also, yes, a werewolf is not the same as a dog, but the man loves dogs. And
Yes,
he has kind of like golden retriever
he
energy, right?
does.
So like that's a good way to make him kind of a he's not a villain in Bedia, but he's a more
Oh,
complex, and making him the dog, the
yeah.
dog equivalent is probably really smart. And
It's like
he's been
literally
so
beastly.
so great when he shows up in the other Maddox films as
Mhm.
Bedia. I love it. And like I love the
Yeah.
fight in Tama with him. I thought that was really good.
Mhm.
Um, actually now I think about it that um
It was probably the only thing in Tama that I enjoyed.
Ayushmann Khurrana is another interesting, like this kind of crop of dudes, right? Like he's also different than Ranbir and Ranbir. And again, the generations are not quite the same, but they're
Right.
more or less, they're all within 10 years of each other, um that's someone else who's definitely not the same as all the others.
Yeah. Rajkumar Rao too. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Rajkumar Rao is a different flavor. Like
Yeah.
he's a little bit more arty, and I
He's
I
not
think he
hero
doesn't look hero-esque.
and he's not a
Um,
dancer.
no, and oh, he's a terrible dancer. And then Aishman
Fine.
is like a little bit more hero-esque, but like the overdoing of the small town movies has really gotten to me at this point where I'm like, please
And
stop.
I think Varun would have been good in some of those.
He has been like you've watched Sui Dhaga, right?
Yes, I have, and I thought about rewatching it. I went for October instead, and but that's a lovely movie.
It's
Lovely.
so sweet.
Yep.
It's adorable. And I absolutely love him and Anushka Sharma in it
I
together.
know
They're such a good pairing.
they
And they're
are.
so sweet. And her with like her sari over her head and everything. They're so wholesome.
They're very
That
wholesome.
movie is wholesome. The characters are wholesome. It's just such a sweet, comforting. That movie is basically like the cinematic equivalent of like eating a bowl of khichdi, you know? It's like chicken soup for the soul.
Yeah,
It's like that.
yeah.
But that Sridhaga is very like Ayushmann Khurrana
Uh-huh.
coded,
Uh-huh.
you know. But I'm glad Varun is in it instead.
Hmm.
But Varun could easily go down this Ayushmann Khurrana path of just doing these like small town movies. But I'm glad that he doesn't just do that and he does more urban stuff as well. Um, can you see Varun playing someone particularly intellectual, or can you see him doing a Ranveer Singh in Lutera kind of thing where he is strategic and not malicious necessarily, but kind of doesn't really care what results his actions have?
If I have to say yes or no, I'll say no.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm for sure willing to watch it. That
Mm.
doesn't that doesn't strike me as quite the thing somehow. But he surprised me before, so why not?
I associate Ranveer Singh with a certain level of craftiness,
Mm,
which I enjoy. And I feel like Ranveer Singh is the kind of character, like the kind of characters he plays and the kind of actor he is. I would not underestimate the man. Like,
mm.
I don't know what he's up to, and you underestimate him at your peril,
Mm,
right? But
yeah.
I feel like with Varun Dhawan's characters, I feel like they're a lot more like sort of like straight shooters. And even when he gets mad at you, you see where it's coming from. There's a transparency,
Yeah. Nice.
right?
Yeah.
That I feel like Ranveer Singh is more, his characters are more manipulative. And whereas with Varun Dhawan's characters, I feel like when they're mad at you, they're just like mad at you and they're just
Yeah.
gonna come at you, you know,
Yeah.
which but you see it coming from a
Or
distance.
kind of
Uh,
plead with you, right? And like
right.
then kind of go home and cry.
Yeah, or have like a tantrum or something.
Yeah.
Like, but it's always almost always something more entertaining, but not so much like 3D chess kind of.
I'm also thinking like, obviously Kalank was not good.
It was
And
so terrible.
that's not his fault.
No.
But he, I think, is one of those people that I don't as easily bias from being from the past.
Yes.
And I don't know why. Because so I was thinking like, could you put him? So obviously, when you compare him to Ranveer Singh, one thing Ranveer Singh has is Bansali. I don't want
Mm.
Varun Dhawan anywhere near a Bansali film. Now, I mostly don't like Bansali films, so that's not a loss, but I don't see him being that level of dramatique,
Yeah.
you know?
I just can't imagine him in that. Like, can you imagine him in Ram Leela? I can't.
No,
But
no,
that's
not at
also why
all.
Kalank didn't work because Kalank was, I keep forgetting that Kalank is a Karan Johar movie
I know,
because it's very Bhansali-esque to me.
but
The
yet not
sets and
quite, right?
everything.
It's not
Right.
as good.
It's so terrible. And I agree with you. Like, I don't see him as someone from the past either. I see, like, my Varun Dhawan image is like the dude that, goes out with the boys. Like, he'll go on like
Hmm.
a hiking trip to Manas Sarovar with the boys. And then he has like his favorite pub that he goes to that's in like an upscale location in Mumbai. And
Yeah,
also he likes to go to the mall. And when he goes
yeah,
to the mall, he likes to buy expensive things and he only owns designer shed. But he's also like he's a dude.
yeah. He's a dude
He's such a dude.
most of
Um,
the time.
yeah. And he has like his favorite like teams and everything that he
Oh yeah,
roots for, right? Like
yeah.
that's his cricket team. I can imagine him having like fight. It always amazes me how many friends I have that are Desi and are like born and raised in India and have never lived outside of India. And they have such strong opinions about like Chelsea and Arsenal
Yeah.
and all of these like teams that I don't know
English
the
things.
first thing about. They
Yeah.
care so much about. I can see him caring about that.
Yeah.
Like I can see him being like, I'm a Chelsea
Well,
fan or
he
whatever.
did go to university in Britain, so
Right. I can totally
he can
see
have a
him
bit of
buying
that.
into that like culture.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like it's very hard for me to imagine
I
him
can,
doing those.
and like his character in Humpty Sharma is is a dude, but he's not rich. I mean, he's
Right.
firmly middle class, right? Like they're saving up to
Yes.
buy a car. So, you
Right.
know, I don't, he doesn't have to be a mall rat, but he definitely can be. But I
Yeah.
just, I could put him backwards like as far as maybe the 80s. And before that, I can't, in my
Yeah.
head, I can't really do it.
I can't either.
So I don't, he's not, Gawarker is not going to call on him.
No.
I wouldn't
He
think.
just feels too
He feels
contemporary and too
contemporary,
urban.
which is so Suidaga. Are they in Delhi the whole
Right.
time in Suidaga?
No, aren't I think they're in Madhya Pradesh. They're like in a small town in Madhya
Okay.
Pradesh. And then I think Delhi is where they have to go for the big fashion show or whatever.
But
So
like
there's definitely small towners.
he could be like I feel like a thing I could see him do, interestingly, is like if they made a movie like Queen about a
Mm,
man, I can see him doing that.
yes,
So big city, but not fancy.
right. So he can do like the tier two cities or whatever
Yeah.
they're called. Like he
Yeah.
can do that, but I don't see him in like a gaon. Like I don't see him in Lagan
No.
playing cricket against the
No.
British. I
No.
don't see him doing that.
No.
It's like urban and suburban and tier two cities, and
And
that's about it.
contemporary.
And he always has to be the dude though. Like he has to
Mhm.
have friends. He has to have like
Yeah.
boys around him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's kind of like in the social hierarchy of the boys, he's the boy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? Like he's number one.
Yeah.
And then he has his little sidekicks and lackeys and
Yes.
stuff. And I don't know why, but that's who
And
he
that's a
is,
fun thing
man.
in Dishoom is he's number two to John Abraham, but
Ah,
he's also they're not competitors, right? Because they're too far apart in age, and one has come from India and one is local and all that kind of stuff. So that I think that helps. But yeah, he's definitely yeah, definitely
yeah.
same
You
thing.
know, I will say though, like, even though Kalank was extremely stupid, and I only watched it because it had Madhuri Dixit in it, and I was like, how can I not? She looked like a dream. So I watched it, and I rolled my, like, the whole time I was just eye rolling. Um, but there was a scene, so he plays Madhuri Dixit's child, and there's a scene where he is really upset about it. And I mean, he's such a jerk in this whole movie. Like, he's
Yeah.
awful. But there's the scene where he's like confronting Madhuri about it and he's yelling at her. And he was actually really good in that movie.
Hmm.
There was definitely part of me which was like, first of all, how dare you? Why are you screaming at the queen? How dare you do that? But then also, I think he acted very well in that
Mhm.
scene. So I mean, it was wasted because the movie's stupid, but you know, he did a good
And there's
job.
a lot in that movie that's pretty. I remember some color
Yeah.
palettes in that film as being gorgeous.
Yeah. The
Um,
costumes were very pretty. It was just
mhm.
all wasted because there was no story. I mean, it's dumb.
Yeah.
But I mean, the
What are
star
you gonna
cast was
expect from the
good.
director of Two States? Like,
Yeah.
uh-uh.
I kind of enjoy Two States though.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I mean, I've watched it once and I enjoy Alia Bhatt in it.
Yeah.
And there's one or two dialogues in it that really make me giggle.
Huh.
So Alia, like, it always makes me laugh. So Alia Bhatt's name in the movie is Ananya. And she goes to this, which is not a very common name, right?
Mm.
And she goes to like this wedding, and there are these like Punjabi aunties, and someone is like, "What's her name?" or whatever, and someone says Ananya, and she says Ananya, and they're like, "Anyay, ye kaisa naam hai?" Because anyay means injustice. They're like,
Oh.
anyay. So now it's like every time I hear the name Ananya, I'm like, anyay. So there's like stupid shit like that in the movie that like makes me giggle, but it's not exactly a movie that I'm like sitting around watching like regularly. So um,
Yeah.
I want to ask you to rank your top five Varun Dhawan films.
Okay.
I don't really care if you're ranking them in order of just the film itself or you're ranking it in terms of his performance. You can decide. But what is your top five ranking?
Okay, so I think I've put these basically in performance order,
Okay,
and I'm gonna
I did
go
as well.
5 to 1.
Okay.
5 for me is Dishum, and it stayed there even after. Like I thought rewatching this film might make me like it less. No, I liked it the same amount. It's very enjoyable, but not all that impactful. Uh, then I have October.
Okay.
Then I put Suidaga. Then I put Bedia,
Mhm.
and then I put Humpty Sharma.
Ah,
And
okay.
then at the very top of the list, so like zero, it's above or 0.5 above one, because this is not a whole film. I have rewatched the Ganpati song from Judwa 2 more times than I can count because, and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it, watching that man swivel his hips in that song is mesmerizing to me. I've seen that song. I love watching him dance in that song. And
He's
I
such a good
actually thought
dancer.
about rewatching that movie. And I have rewatched bits and pieces of it because I do actually find it funny. I don't know what's wrong with
Hmm.
me that I find that movie funny, but I do. I do also like, well, and I like
You were
Jacqueline.
bitten by the Bedia. That's
I
what
like
happened.
Taapsee Pannu as well. So, but that song, and he's got, I think, a fairly atrocious wig on and whatever. But like, I think in the color palette's really pretty, and those backing women who
Yeah.
have these like tans and pinks and what. But I love watching him dance in that song.
Okay. He is a good dancer.
I
And I
had to
like
I had
that.
to mention that somehow. So like no,
Okay.
but if I wanted to say to someone, this is an Indian movie star I really like, I might give them that song.
Okay.
You know what I
Just
mean?
not the movie, sounds like.
I think Jude Law 2 would be a lot to take on if you're not familiar with mainstream Hindi film a little bit.
Okay.
I wouldn't give it to a newbie. I don't think.
Okay.
It's kind of a lot. Um, and it is, shriekingly loud in parts. It's not I enjoyed it, but it's not um anyway. Yeah, watch him
Okay.
dance, man. He's a great dancer. He's really fun.
My number five was Badrinath Ki Dulhania.
Mhm.
I really like his acting. We haven't even spoken about his pairing with Alia Bhatt, but I really like it when they come together. I
Yeah,
think they're so
they're
good
a great
together. They have
pair.
a great chemistry. They have
Mhm.
like I love the repartee between them.
Yeah.
She gives as good as she gets, and
Yeah.
it's just like boom, boom, boom. It's just it's the kind of chemistry that you can't just create. It has
Yeah.
to be there already.
Yeah.
I love it when they're sparring partners. So Badrinath Kidalania coming in at number 5. Number 4 is Bhedia. I think of all of the Matic films, Bhedia is probably the one that I enjoy the most.
Mm.
And a large part of that is that I enjoy werewolves, in theory, of course,
Yeah.
and also because I love Varun Dhawan.
Hmm.
So would I enjoy Bhedia as much if some other actor was in it? I don't think so. I think he really makes it for me. And there's certain scenes in that movie, especially like when they have that old Doordarshan song that for Jungle Book, the
Yeah.
Jungle Jungle Pata Chala hai, Chaddi Pehen Ke Phool Khila Hai. That is so classic Varun Dhawan. The fact that they have that overlaid when he's on screen, that's Varun Dhawan in a nutshell to me. It's very joyous and
Yeah.
happy. Well,
Yeah.
when he's not screaming and baying for blood, but I like, people have their moods. Um, Next up, I would say Jug Jug Geo.
Oh
This
yeah.
is not a movie that people talk about too much. I think it's one of those films that
It was
got released
good.
and then it just sort of like disappeared and no one
It was
talks about
really
it.
good.
It was really good. It's surprisingly good.
Hmm.
I am one of those people that don't really have an opinion on Kiara Advani. Like, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
love
think
her.
I
I
do
don't
either.
dislike her. Like, she's fine, but she did surprise me in this movie. I thought she was good. And I enjoyed the Elder Kapoors in it as well. And I think he
Also,
was good
Varun
too.
as child of Nitu and Anok, you're like, yes, good
Yeah,
casting. Like that tracks.
it does.
It tracks.
It's a surprisingly good movie, I would say. And I
Hmm.
think people
Hmm.
should watch Jug Jug Geo, and especially for that amazing scene where they're fighting with
Yeah,
each
their
other.
fight is really good.
Mm. Then I would put Sui Dhaga, just very warm, heartwarming, very sweet,
Yeah.
very wholesome. I think Sui Dhaga is probably also my favorite Anushka Sharma performance.
Ah, mhm.
I just because Anushka Sharma often plays someone very like shrill and just kind of like really over the top for me. Sometimes her energy, like Jab Tak Hai Jaan, oh my God, Anushka Sharma and Jab Tak Hai Jaan is not someone I can
Listen, you're the person who's
handle.
watched it 8 times for no good
I
reason.
have. I want just the montage of Shah Rukh Khan on his motorbike in the background of Ladakh and the voiceover and the song and the wind. Oh, emo Shah Rukh in a tank top writing sad songs. Yes. Love that. Love that for me. So yes, Sui Dhaga at number 2, and then of course number 1, Badlapur. Badlapur
Ah,
is not
mhm.
just a movie that I love for his performance. I just love everything about that movie, and I want to see him do more movies with like Sriram Raghavan,
Mm.
Anurag Kashyap, Vishal Bharadwaj, directors that could really like push
I
him.
would love to see him in Bardwatch film because obviously
Yes,
that man can create some very interesting casting choices. And I think
yes,
there'd be something in the world, in his various worlds, that Varun would be quite good at.
I agree.
I agree as
I
well.
would love to see them together.
Mhm.
I think Varun plays these kind of like grayish characters surprisingly well that one may not think based on his general demeanor. And I like it when he plays these questionable people.
I was just thinking, when we were comparing him to some of his contemporaries there, there's one I forgot, and it's Sushant Singh Rajput.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I can see the absence of Sushant Singh Rajput might actually, there are roles that I can see them both having been
Yeah.
good at. Sorry to make it sad because boy,
Yeah.
I love Sushant Singh Rajput. But great dancer,
Yes.
again, not probably the one who reads as strategic and kind of
Right.
crafty.
I
God,
was
has
just
a
going to say the
twinkle,
transparency. Yeah.
has a
Heart
lot
on
of,
his sleeve.
kind of good natured in
Yeah,
general. Yeah. I
that's
I
true.
do think I'd like to see Varun as a detective type thing. Doesn't have to be a cop, but like a PI. I think that could be fun. So again, but you were saying like, do you buy him as the kind of genius? It would have to be not the genius cop, like not a Sherlock cop.
No,
Or a
no.
detective. It'd have to be kind of a more plodding, getting the job done, day-to-day detective. I think I would enjoy that.
Do you like those? I'm sure you do. This is a rhetorical question. Those like British cozy mysteries?
I love them. I
Of
love
course.
them.
I also loves them. I'm actually a huge fan of the Aunt Dimity series, and for the longest time, I used to have like a email correspondence with the author. But I love British cozy mysteries, and I would love to see him
Uh-huh.
do something like that. Like him in like a little hill station.
Uh-huh.
Like imagine him in Uti, and
Uh-huh.
it's like a small, sleepy, whatever town, and the local doctor ends up dead with a knife
Yes.
in his back. Oh
Yes.
my, whom are we going to call? We're going to call Detective Varun Dhawan. And he's not going to be like flashy and super
Nope.
smart and scholarly, but
Nope.
he's very like salt of the earth and logical,
Yep.
and he charms people into giving him information. I think he could be so cute. Like
I
that
would
would be
love
such
that.
a fun series. Like I can imagine this as like a little mini series on like Amazon Prime or something like that,
Yeah.
you know? I think that could be cute.
He could be like the cop in Aragnac, for example.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Not the ending, but that setting. I would like something a little more cozy. That one's a little not
It's a
quite as
little,
cozy,
yeah,
but yeah, oh, I would love that. I mean, I want more of those in general all the time
I
anyway, but
know.
that would be really delightful. And it could be modern day. Obviously, we don't have to deal with
No,
your
no. No, it doesn't have to be modern, but like it has to be modern day. And I can imagine him like eating like Maggie while
And
he's questioning
honestly,
people.
he could also run a two star a not very many starred hotel in Goa. Same thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
I can imagine him as a beach bunny.
Yeah.
Beach
You know
bum
what?
who also solves crimes.
Yeah. You know what else he could do? I would love to see him play an influencer.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting a
I
little
would,
old, but
yeah.
yes.
But like someone who's really full of themselves
Yes,
and just thinks that
definitely.
they're like the cat's meow. Like, what is that movie where Yami Gautam played an influencer? She was hysterical.
Oh, I
It's a
don't
movie
know.
with, oh, it's a movie with Ayushmann Khurrana.
Oh,
I forget the name, but it's actually a very good movie. He
oh,
plays a guy that Yami Gautam is an influencer, and she is always like obsessed with like Instagram or whatever, and she has like a lot of followers and stuff. And she marries him, and she doesn't know that he's bald.
oh, yes, the bald one. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
there's two bald ones. There's the one with Ashman Khurrana, whose name I'm
Right.
forgetting, and there's another one called Ujira Chaman, which is even better. And that one does not have Ayushmann Khurrana or Yami Gautam. But the one I'm thinking about that has Ayushmann and Yami Gautam, she is an influencer. And when in a fight she discovers that he's actually bald and he wears a wig, she's so upset that her like carefully curated life is going to come crashing
Yeah.
down. And because she's so obsessed with like appearances and fakeness and stuff like that, I can totally see Varun Dhawan playing someone
Yeah.
that like vapid and
Yeah.
vacuous and
Yeah.
just obsessed with
But
getting
then who
attention.
learns, right? Learning and
Yes.
growing. He can learn
Yeah.
and grow.
He'll have like a learning and growing arc, but I want him to be so like obnoxiously vapid in the beginning. I think he could do that so well. Or
Hmm.
maybe like an aging star who thinks he's so special.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen that Saif Ali Khan movie where he plays this like aged out Casanova, and he discovers that Kabir Bedi's daughter, Kabir Bedi's
I
granddaughter.
haven't seen that, but you
It's
spoke about
funny.
it for one of
I
our
think you'll
episode
like
on
it.
Seth. Yeah.
It's worth watching. It's very
Yeah.
funny. It's cute. Tabu plays his
Yeah.
she
His
plays like the
ex,
baby
right?
mama. Yes, and it's not how you've ever seen Tabu. It's a completely like she plays this very like boho free spirit. I was like, Tabu is a boho free spirit. What is happening? Who is smoking what? But
Mm.
she's surprisingly good in that because I just think of her as like this very put together woman, and she's just so funny. That's a really good movie too. So I could see him doing something like that too. I think he should like try to follow Saif Ali Khan's career trajectory a little
I
bit.
mean, you and I love that. So
Yes, we do. Okay. Last question before we wrap up this episode. What is Varun Dhawan's ice cream?
apologies if I've used this one before. I couldn't
Mine
remember.
I've used before.
He is Rocky Road to me
Okay.
because it is full, it's a more is more sort of ice cream, like marshmallows, chocolate, crunchy. So you've got a marshmallow ripple for dancing and you've got other things for other things. So like um, he has multiple skills that he brings and the complete package is very pleasing to me.
Yeah. I baked a banana split sundae for him
Ah,
because again, I think of him as like more is more, and there's like this effervescent, I'm not going to grow up. What is that saying? Growing old is compulsory, but growing old is optional.
oh, growing up is optional. Yeah.
Yeah. That was on a birthday card I received this year. I was like, okay, thank you. Thank you for the advice. I see him as that person. So
Mm.
my brain went to Archie comics, and that went to like Archie, Betty, and Veronica sharing the split Sunday.
Ah,
Um, And so I think of like the banana and the 3 scoops of ice cream. And he is a self confirmed glutton.
Oh,
So he loves food. So I feel like that's very much him. Like, why get just one ice cream cone? Let's get a
mhm.
banana split. And then his gang of boys can like
Oh,
dig
that's
in with
true. Yeah,
him.
he'll have to share it with the boys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think of him as like a banana split Sunday. It's also not like a serious thing that
No, it's
anyone
not.
over the age of no one above high school orders a banana split Sunday.
Yeah.
And
Will
yet
it have
Varun
the
will.
little sparklers in it
Yes, it will.
for
It will have
extra?
all the things, Beth.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Did you have any lasting thoughts on Varun Dhawan? We've given him career advice. We have applauded
Yeah,
him.
I look forward to seeing what is next. Even if I choose not to watch it, I am always interested to see what he's up to. Am
It's,
I gonna watch Border, whatever number this is? No, I'm not.
are you especially interested in watching his hip swivels?
I mean, I'm trying to rein it in.
Okay.
But if
You
he's
know,
gonna dance, I'm there.
okay. Maybe that's one of the things that Govinda talked to him about at
I can
their
believe it.
potential dinner
Because
meeting.
that whole song seems very Govinda-y to me,
It's, yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah,
And that song, he does not have a crew of boys, but he has a crew of ladies because they're all like kind of fawning over him and then
of
dancing
course.
with him and whatever. And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course these like local ladies all love this boy, right? This like boy who's
Yeah.
been raised
Yeah.
in the streets, whatever. Yeah, it's
He's
ridiculous.
their own little Peter Pan. They're
Totally,
all Wendy's for him.
totally, totally.
Okay, I think that concludes this episode of Filmy Ladies. We love Varun Dhawan. We are unabashed adorers of him. We're part
Mhm.
of the crew of ladies that surrounds him. Tell us what you think about him. Do you like him as well? Or are you like Beth and Pitu? Y'all be crazy. He's not all that great. But we are open to your suggestions and your comments. If there are any Varun Dhawan movies and performances that you think that we should watch, then let us know. And in the meantime, we would recommend that you watch some of these movies that we discussed today,
Mhm.
except for Street Dancer 3, which Bet does not
No.
recommend.
I don't even think you need to watch the songs, bizarrely. And I know what I just said about his dancing, but this sort of more
Yeah, yeah.
mm. Also, he looks
Okay.
kind of angry most of the time in this movie, and that's not as appealing.
That's because they didn't give him hip swivels, Beth. He
He's
was
like, listen,
robbed.
you've seen what I can do. Why can't I do it?
Exactly. That's like, it's like when I was like irrationally angry when I saw Guzarish, and I was like, you're gonna take the best dancer in Bollywood and put him in a wheelchair the whole time. What is wrong with you? Why would
Yeah,
you do this to me? Right? It's just
yeah.
wrong. Yeah. Okay. Follow Filmy Ladies and subscribe and like us, because we have many more such takes about like the unfairness of the universe when Ritik Roshan fans are forced to see him not dance, and for other very questionable opinions. Thank you for watching. Bye.